Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to decorate a tree in a vintage kitchen style. And then I'm going to make one of the ornaments that I'll be putting on it. Now I've got this little lighted tree and I think it's about a 4-foot tree, and then obviously I have it on top of a table. So you wouldn't think that you would be able to do that, but you can just take just about anything as long as it's not too heavy and there's a way to attach it. You can add just about any vintage item that you want. And I know that this colander is not exactly what you would think would go on a tree, but it does make a good item. And if you just put maybe for a tree this size, you really only need maybe 7 or 8 items that are vintage. And then you have a very nice base for your tree, and then you can just fill in with other things. So that's what I'm going to do here. And I don't even know if I've got 7 or 8, but I just put some of these things on here. That's just a rusty little cheese grater, and you can take new items and rust them yourself by dipping them in or letting them soak in vinegar overnight, and then the next day just spray them with a little bit of peroxide. You really don't have to use the peroxide, but then it takes longer. So if you use that, then it will rust very quickly. This one just happens to be one that was already aged. The little colander is aluminum, so I don't think that would age. It may, but I like the look of it just the way it is. And then this little sifter also is aged already. So again, if it wasn't, I could just dip it in or soak it in the vinegar. Now, most of you have already seen this tree because it was in the shop tour, the open house shop tour. But I'm just kind of showing you how I threw it together. And honestly, I did just kind of throw it together. And I didn't even use a garland on this because when you have all these big items, and then you fill in with smaller items, it doesn't leave a whole lot of room. And then it being this size, again, it just doesn't need much. And this next item is just a little thermometer, and it, again, is vintage. Most of these items came from my kitchen, all but the colander. And so these won't be for sale. I'm just kind of using them to decorate the tree. And I'll be decorating some more of the trees. Hopefully I'll get to videotape those because I had my open house already. And because I was so rushed for time, I didn't get to get those trees decorated. So maybe I'll get to do a couple of those on video. Now the colors that I chose to use here are this color blue that was in the thermometer, which is just kind of an aqua blue, and red. And I just think those two colors pair really well in more of a retro style kitchen. So now I have a couple of ice cream scoops that I'm going to add just because they're vintage, and I want some of that red on here. The primary color will be red, and then I'm just going to add little touches of that turquoise color or aqua. And I'll decorate around the tree with a lot of that color also, and that will bring the look together. But I'm just using floral wire and wiring these items on. And it would have been nicer if I had had more utensils here that were the right color, but I didn't. You could also add a rolling pin in this, and I think that would be really pretty. I probably should have done that. Thank you very much to all of you who have expressed that you would be praying for my open house. It was definitely a success. We had so much fun. And I think I got 4 visits from my viewers. So I was just really happy to meet some of you. And again, it was a success. We were busy all day, and it just was a fun day. Now this is a little juicer, and this is aluminum here, and I think that kind of has that same retro look. And I love decorating trees like this because you don't have to waste money on decor. You can just put these items that you already have on from your kitchen, and then just kind of fill in with things that are a little bit more Christmassy. Some of you said that you missed the video that I was doing the recipe board ornament in, and that's because I misspoke and said that I had posted that video, and I had not. So I did kind of put some text over that video to show that I made a mistake, but I'm sure some of you didn't get to read that. And again, it was a mistake, but this is the video. I'll be adding that recipe board to this one. Now, what you see there on the table is it actually was a tablecloth that I had ripped into strips. It was a damaged tablecloth, so I ripped it into strips. And that's what I'm going to be adding some cookie cutters to this. And that's what I will attach to the cookie cutters. I'll just tie a little strip of that around. And that's how I'm going to add my color that I need here. And this little tree that I'm using here is one that I've had for years. It's not anything special. I think that at one point I just dabbed some paint over the branches to lighten it up some, and it just kind of made the branches look snow-covered. But again, this is not anything special, and I had to add the lights to it. It's not even a lit tree. And guys, just because my open house is over doesn't mean that I'll stop my Christmas crafting, because I know some people are just now getting started, and there's lots more that I still have to do. And the cookie cutters that I'm going to be adding to this, most of the ones that I add are vintage, but again, you don't have to use vintage cookie cutters either, because you can just tarnish those the same way that you do the others. And then you can just kind of tie something to them. And not all vintage cookie cutters look that vintage. It's just mainly that they're tarnished. Now, this is a beautiful recipe book that I just absolutely love, but it's heavy. And so at this point, I'm trying to figure out how I want to add it to the top. And then Tammy is kind of helping me decide how I should put it. But what we decided in the end was just to put it over the top of that. But first, to sturdy it up, I took a stick, and I end up using the handle to something, and just because I want it to be a very sturdy stick. So I just stuck it down in, and there's where I'm telling her that's what I think I'm going to do. But I just took that stick and stuck it down inside it, and then I put my book, I opened the book and closed it on that stick, and then tied a strip of fabric around it, and I'll show that. But that was a very easy way to get it to stay. And when I stuck that stick down in there, I only attached it in one place because it was very sturdy once I stuck it down in there. So that book is not going to go anywhere when it's finished. But here I'm just tying those cookie cutters on with those little strips of fabric. And I'm not tying a bow in them or anything. I'm just tying a strip and kind of letting it hang. So again, this is so simple. It's such a simple way to decorate a tree. And as you can see, from start to finish, it's really not going to be much at all. And this right here is one of those little pies that I had made in an earlier video, and I'll attach that one in this video. But I made them in an earlier video, and then I decided to turn them into ornaments. And I have a friend who decorates her tree in little goodies. And so she ended up getting one of these because it will go well with her tree. But I thought it would go well with this kitchen tree. So I have a gingerbread ornament that I'm going to be adding. And then I also have, I'll attach that one in the description. And then I think I added a wrapped candy cane to this. And then, of course, that recipe board that I said I would be making on this. So now I just keep adding cookie cutters until I feel like I have enough of those and have enough of the red and white. I was so happy to see that during my open house, some of the ornaments that sold the best were the faith-related ornaments. And I was so happy that was the case. And my board angels that my husband cut out, those sold really well. And the nativities and the nativity ornaments, I completely sold out of those. And so it was just really refreshing. I think that people are a lot like I am with that when you're trying to decorate with faith. And I think most of us are well-intended. It's just so hard to find them. So those of us who craft and are Christians, I feel like we should try to do that as much as possible. And I know from experience it's hard to come up with the ornaments. But if we think hard enough, I think that we can. And I'm just, I'm very encouraged that so many people are interested in it. I'm sorry, I'm carrying on a conversation with someone here while I'm decorating. So I'm going to skip through where I'm tying the rest of these cookie cutters on, because that's all that I'm doing is just taking these strips of fabric and tying all these individual cookie cutters on. And then here's where I'm taking that stick and forcing it down inside of the tree. And then again, I just attach it in one place. I take a tree branch and kind of twist it around it to secure it. And then it's so sturdy because I'm having to kind of force it down in there that it's plenty sturdy enough to attach my cookbook. And again, all I do is just open that cookbook and close it over that. And then I took a strip of fabric. Now I said I attached that stick with a branch, but I didn't here. I'm just tying one of those strips of fabric over the top of that. But then I just take my cookbook and open it up to the center or close to the center and close it over the top of that stick. And then I took a strip of fabric, and I think I just used a coffee stain tea towel and tie around it. And then I think that made a very unique tree topper, and I think it pulled all those colors together and was a great finishing touch. And I say finishing touch, actually the finishing touch was the tree skirt, because obviously I need a tree skirt for this. But this is, this being a shorter tree that doesn't have much space between the bottom of the tree and the bottom of the tree stand, I needed something that was wide enough but was also short enough. And I found this cheese box. I remembered having this, and I think it was the absolute perfect finish for this. And I just love how this turned out. And again, it's really not tree decorations per se, but I think it made a perfect little tree for the kitchen. So now I'm showing you what I did to make that recipe board, and it is as simple as it gets. A friend had given me some of this old wood, and I just love this old buttermilk color that was already on it. And so she gave me 4 or 5 of these planks, and I just cut them into pieces. And then sanded around the edges. And now I'm using some old recipes that Tammy had gotten, I think maybe at an estate sale. And they're all handwritten, and the lady who wrote them has just such pretty handwriting, and I love the look of these. On some of them, I'm going to leave those, the prong side, where was bound, because I just like that look. And then where I'm having to cut these, instead of cutting them, I'm using this scrapbooking ruler, and I'll try to attach that in the description, but it will tear your page, but give it more of an organic tear. So it'll tear it without tearing it out of line, but it will still be more of a natural organic look, so that when you do your antiquing around the edges, it just has a lot prettier finish. So then I'm going to take some Mod Podge and glue this on. I actually think for my Mod Podge medium, I just use some regular clear coat, some of the Dixie Belle clear coat as my base instead of Mod Podge here. But you could use school glue, or you could use Mod Podge, or some sort of a brush on clear coat. Now you could use a brayer tool with this to make sure that you get all your bubbles out. I actually a lot of times will just use something flat and just rub across it. In this case, I think I use one of the tools that you rub your transfers on, and just kind of rub out all of the bubbles. And I even took the edge of it and went into that little where the tongue and groove is, because I wanted that little indentation from the wood to show. So once I get that glued on well, and I make sure that all of my bubbles are out, and then let it dry, then I drill my holes in the top so that I can add my hanger. And then I used some of the red and white baker's twine as my hanger. So I just tied a knot in each side and let that be my hanger, because I felt like that added the right kind of vintage look that it needed, and it brings those two colors together. And then once I do that, I'm gonna take some of that same fabric that I tore strips from and make a bow to add to the top. And I didn't make a any kind of a fancy bow. I wanted this to look very simple, and I think that that's part of the charm of this, that it's just this old wood, and it keeping that simple look. I just feel like just again, it's just part of that charm. So I just tie a simple knot in each side. So again, I just tied that little simple bow. And then before I add it, I decided that I wanted to antique around those edges some more. So once this is completely dry, then I just took some of my vintage photo antiquing ink and went all around the outside. And although this is very aged wood and the back is very dark, where there's a cut that I made, it wasn't dark, so I needed to age those sides. And then I aged around the front edges of it, and I just feel like that gave it a lot better look. And then I glued that bow to one side of the top, and trimmed the edges, and glued a button in the center of it. And if these don't sell, then I'll add a little something to them. I did bag these up, And but again, if they don't sell well, I'll make them a little bit more detailed, but I just really like the simple look. And here is my tree finished, and there is that ornament. And if you happen to run into a large wooden cheese box, hang on to it, because it does make a very, very neat container for your tree. And this one just happened to not have a lid, which was perfect. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.